session is about the NHS England eProduct Workforce Portal, and I'm delighted to be able to hand over to David, who's going to walk us through it. David.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Good morning, everyone. Well, let me introduce myself. David Pujol, Principal Insight Analyst working for NHS England. I was formerly Health Education England. So just to give you a bit of a context for all those who are not familiar with eProduct, so the NHS eProduct Workforce Portal. So this initially was built or was actually, well, we got to this point because in the past, this is an HE product. So what happened in the past is that many regions, national, there was all sorts of useful tools around the organization, which people couldn't really have sight of it. So what happened is that then we came with this, well, we can't say we, but HE came with a solution that, well, we would actually put this portal called ePortal or eProduct, and then all the regions and any product that's actually interesting or can be useful for other colleagues in the organization is actually published in that. So what I'm going to do, because this is a portal, it's a website portal, I haven't prepared any slides. Well, I prepared the slides just in case it didn't work, the portal, because sometimes can happen. So
backup plan.
As a backup plan, but initially, basically, I'm going to give you like a live demo. So it will be just how to navigate, what is in there, why would you use it, and then I'll just give you a demo. And if any questions, just please feel free. If I don't know the answer, I would say, I don't know. You need to contact this team, maybe that will help you. But I'll try to do my best. So if you don't mind, let me just make sure that I close everything to avoid interruptions, and I'll start sharing my screen.
Okay.
And that should let me just move something. Okay, yes. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
So basically, this is the NHSE eProduct Workforce Intelligence Portal. And what is that? So this is all set of national tools and regional tools that I will go into more detail in a bit, but it's where you can have maybe you're working on some metrics, secondary care, pharmacy, work, mental health, anything that you actually want some numbers on workforce metrics, then here the job is already been done, so it might actually save you some time. So that's why it's a quite useful tool if you know how to use it. So, and I'll give you like an overview first of what is in the tool, and then we can just go into one or two examples of the tools. But basically, this is the landing page, which actually it's telling you a bit of an overview what you'll see in here, and then you have all the tools that you actually seen recently, then they come here into recently viewed area, and then you can have your favorites area as well. But what I would recommend is when you get access to this platform, the first thing you do is if you go to your more information and you go to the national product index, this tool, this is like a summary tool where it helps you to understand a little bit. This gives you like a list of what products are in there, as you can see with a hyperlink. And then it tells you a bit of a brief description of what is in there. So you can quickly, you don't have to go through all the tools before you find out what you need. So you can actually come here, just have a quick look and say, oh, well, I'm actually interested in this tool or whatever tool it is, like I don't know, social care or the turnover tool or EDI or something like that, or the 50,000 nurses and things like that. Depending on what you're actually interested, you can quickly get access to it. So other things that you can see here in the panel is that you have your favorite size. So, and I will get to that point when you can see in your favorites. Then you have the regional workspaces. The regional workspaces, what I have to say is that I don't see all the regions, but because if you have to have access, then you need to request access to the specific regions, and there's some routes you have to follow just to get access to specific areas. And then this one, the dashboards and reporting, this is the national tools. Okay, so it's two different parts. So here you will see all the national tools, and here you will see all the regional tools. So other things that are interested is if you're familiarized with the frequent asked questions in here, what you will see is some good information. You will have how to provide feedback, what do you need to log in, how do I reset my password. This usually these are the common problems that people just face, that, oh, I need to reset my password, something is no problem, or something is not working, or if you have any access problems, who you have to contact. No? And then if you go to the end, you see who is responsible for each of when I talk about the regional workspaces. So in here, you can actually get in touch with the specific regions, and then you have the email address and you can get in touch with them and you can sort out the access to the regional areas. So other things that I wanted to explain, that some of the tools, they have feedback form. So, but I will get to that in a minute. So what happens is that then let's go and have a look at, for example, when you look at the national tools, you have the ones that are related to the current workforce, where you can see the EDI dashboard, the secondary care in two different versions of the secondary care, where you can see the staffing post data, joiners and leavers, absence, and all these kind of metrics. Then you can have one that is specific for learning disability. The location tool, this tool is just providing the workforce population. It's just giving you workforce metrics on not where the staff is employed, but where they provide services. And you will see, well, what is the difference? Well, in the Midlands, for example, if you look at areas like mental health, it is quite important, because if you look, for example, you're comparing Staffordshire and Shropshire. So what happens in there is that around 85% of the workforce in Shropshire comes from Staffordshire. So therefore, if you look at where they are employed, and then you look at Shropshire, you will see that the number of workforce, the FTs, is very small. But actually, if you then look at the location tool where they provide services, you get a more realistic picture of what is the actual workforce providing services in this area. That's why the location tool was built, just to show where. And in some other regions, like in east of England and London, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of staff coming from London and providing services to some ICBs in east of England. Then you have maternity dashboards, mental health, the turnover. The turnover, I have to say that if you compare the turnover rate in NHS England and the turnover rate in here, that we say we use the HE methodology, there's some discrepancies on the rates, but because it's a slightly different methodology, the same way that you will find some discrepancies on the staffing post data, so on the workforce figures in our secondary tool and some of the tools in NHSE, because we use slightly different some of the metrics, such as the assignment status, or the contract type. So it's depending on depending on what you look at it. So you might see some discrepancies, but you have to bear in mind that there's some change of methodologies. And then you have the primary care tools, where you have the workforce analysis and the primary care network and the social care. Then you have the demand one, where you have the population and the operational plan and other tools. So I have to say that not everybody has. So for example, when you request taxes, you might not be able to see these tools, or only these, but not this one, because some of the tools have restricted access. And this is something that you will have to start requesting to the data service. And then there's other tools about the future workforce. You want to see the projections on different staff groups or job roles, the supplies, where it tells you student data, so which is the current supply pipeline on the students and for clinical and medical. And then the supporting tools is a bit of the same. No, it tells you the ESR quality, data quality report. This is something that looks at ESR submissions and just flags all the errors, and this can be actually fed back to the systems to say, well, these are the errors, or this is what happened on your last submission. There were some metrics missing, or some things that actually nulls and things like that. It flags a lot of things. And the National Product Index is there, but is there temporarily because it has been moved to this area in here. So it will just disappear from there. soon. So what I wanted to show is, for example, let's say that we look at the secondary care tool. Okay, so this tool is quite large, but that's why I'm just opening another tab, because sometimes you have to bear in mind that sometimes if there's a lot of people using this platform at the same time, downloading data, creating reports, or visualizing tools, this can actually affect a bit the performance. So that the data service are working on improving the virtual machine to make it this more to perform better. But that's something that they're looking into it. But it's just to let you know that don't get frustrated if it takes too long, but it's fine. So sometimes it's just that there's too many people and you have to just look at it with a bit of patience. So what you will see in all the tools, that they have the same structure. So when you're familiarized with one, you will just be familiar with all of them. So for example, the secondary care tool, it just gives you a bit of a context of what is this tool and what would you say. And then in here, at the top, you see there's a banner with a bit of information if there's something that is worth flagging before you just dive into the tools. For example, in here, we see that in May 23, there's been some data issues on some of the data. So that's why they're quality checking, and that's giving you some insight that, okay, there's some issues, because if you prepare a report based on this, you have to also bear in mind any data quality issues that might happen. So in here, then when you dive into the tool, you will see different metrics in here. So, and they all have the same structure. At the very top, when this loads, and you will see that there's some tabs in here. So you see that the tool, you can actually navigate through the tabs using these these hyperlinks in here, or you can then use this drop-down menu in here. But what is one going to give you when you go to the cover page, it will tell you what is the data source, what is the latest publication date, what is the frequency, the periods, if different data sets cover different periods, as in this case, the workforce data covers certain periods, the joiners and leavers covers a slightly different period, and that's why you can actually see what you can expect in or how far you can actually report. So then what you will see in here is that they all have the cover, they all have a user guide, and then they all have insight pages. And why is this important that you familiarize with this before you go into the data? Is because you have a bit of how to use the tool, what can you do with the tool, and different bits and bobs that they should be quite standard across all the products, but that's not always the case. So it's good to have a quick look and see, and you can actually familiarize yourself with that. And the insights is when they just give you like a quick view of what is happening on this on the metrics on this tool, and then you can start just dropping down into all the different tabs that they will tell you different metrics. And for example, in here, that one, the secondary care workforce profile, is just giving you the workforce data, and it's this like a trend line. And then you can see, well, as you can see here, this is you can select your region, you can select the specific ICSs, organization types, name, if you're looking for a specific band. And then if you want more specific staff groups or professions or job roles, or even if you want actually to trim your view just to see from specific start and end date. And in here, just give you a bit of metrics to say where are the organizations located in a map. Here you have a trend line for the last 12 months, but then you can change this to quarterly view. You can then say what is the actual values, or what is actually the percentage change over time. You can have the metrics on by staff group, age and age distribution, by ethnicity, nationality, and all these kind of things. So then you can go to the different tabs, and you can have all the different metrics, the joiners and leavers, what are the absence and the reasons for absence, and all these kind of metrics. You have all these bits and bobs. So it's quite intense. There's a lot of information in this tool. So that's why you can't really create one tool that covers everything, because there's a lot of richness in each of them. So, but what I wanted to then show or talk about is what are these tools in here. So what happens is that this star in here is when you click in here, it becomes your favorite, and it's like a quick access. You will be able to access this tool using your favorite, or on the landing pages I showed before, that at the bottom of the landing page you could see your favorites. So, and then how does it work? You have different things. The report builder, what the report builder does, this is a tool that allows you to say, for example, let's say I want to create a report about the sickness absence. So I can create here, I can create a capture of what I can see right now on the screen, and then I can start building my own report. Okay, but the beauty of this report builder is that you can navigate to different tabs, different tools. So it's basically just keeps it there. Let's call it in your basket, and you start just adding. For example, I want this, but then if I want something to say, I don't know, I want this one, no, and then sorry, no, that wasn't a good example. But then if I say I'm going to a different tab or a different tool, then you can have other. Let's say if I just move into here quickly, you can start creating your report, and then you can download the report on different formats, on a PDF or directly into PowerPoint, and then you can edit it, and you can start creating your visuals or other report you want to say. So for example, in here, you remember that I was in the secondary care tool, but if I click at the report builder, still remembers that I'm on the, I just capture this one, and then I can capture this other one. And when it creates the capture of this page, you can then click in here on the export, and it will allow you to choose if you want to download all this into PDF or into PowerPoint. So then the other metrics in here are download. This download allows you to download the data as a CSV format, Excel, PowerPoint, and as an image, or if you want to download the data in different formats, or even a PDF. So the difference between CSV and Excel is because CSV creates flat files, and is what I would recommend if you want to download the data and just pivot the data or do your own things. It's best if you download it as a CSV file, because Excel, if we are in a table with, for example, let's say like this, sorry, you see, it takes a bit, but it you see now it captured the sickness absence as well as the student data, and then you can export, you click export in here, and it allows you to export it on PDF and PowerPoint. So what happens then is if you download the data in a table like this, and you download it as Excel, what is going to happen is that you will have a lot of blanks in here, and you will have to actually start filling. It's basically creating it's like a lift and shift of what you see on the screen. But then if you download this as a CSV, it will be like a flat file, and you'll be able to do other analysis and pivot the data and so on and so forth. So what happens with the full screen one? The full screen is just to change in the view. You can actually just have it more, expand the view to see it better on the screen. The reset button is because when you start choosing all the different buttons in here, if you want to reset the view as a default, just clear all the filters, you just click the reset. Custom view. What happens with this, the custom view, is this is a very good functionality. If you're always going to the same tools to look at the same metrics, you can create your customized views. So you basically, what you do, you start selecting your filters in here, and you just set or predefine your view, and then you just save it as your custom view, and you can actually give it a name. And every time that you want to go directly to that view, you just need to use your drop down. As you can see here, I have some tests. What happens with these views, when you select one, for example, and I click apply, what is going to happen is, as you can see, this tool automatically, this defined view, what is done is actually selected the nursing and midwifery, and it selected the 3 courses of midwifery, midwifery, and then automatically I don't have to start just clicking some filters, because I just defined the view in here, go for it, apply the view, and I have the view that I need on my screen. The problem with this is that you can't really share them. You cannot create a customized views and share it with somebody, because this is linked to your profile. So this will be on your profile, on your user and your username. So what is going to happen is you cannot create a view and share it with somebody else, because it's not working. Then the share page is just as simple as creating, or copying the URL for easy sharing. And the subscribe button, this is very good, very useful, is what happens in here is that you click, if you're very interested in a product, but you don't want to be logging into the ePortal all the time just to see when there's been a change or there's been a refresh in the tool, you can schedule this. You can actually set it to say, just give me, send me an email or notification on this specific workbook or the dashboard. So the difference between the workbook and the dashboard is any change that happened in any of the tabs. And the workbook is if you only are interested in specific views. For example, if you're only interested in this tool, the student activity, on what is happening in the student activity, where you don't care about placement, that's why you would subscribe only to the workbook rather than the dashboard. And that what we'll do if you subscribe is that anytime that there's an upgrade or there's a change, and it will just send you an email, and you will receive an email to say student dashboard has been updated, or there's been a change, and then you can go back and check it, and you don't have to go and log it into the tool every time. And the last thing I want to say is that some of the tools, they have what is called a feedback form. So if I just, let me just open this again. If I go to the landing page, in here you will see that some of them you can provide. Yes, in here you see, if you have any feedback when you go to the landing page of the tool before you dive into the tool, you have any feedback you could provide directly. For example, something that is not working or something that you would like to feedback on this tool, just simply fill this. You don't have to put your name, this is optional. And you just type anything you want, you submit it, and the National Data Service will see it and will actually just take or discuss it with you if there's any major change that you would like to discuss about. And that's the end of the presentation. I think that I've covered everything. I'm happy to take any questions, so I will start sharing, and then I'm going to take any questions. Yeah, thank you.
So we have a hand up. Would you like to ask your question?
Hi, yes, Rajesh here, the workforce BI manager for LLR, Leicestershire,
Hiya.
ICB. Hiya. Yeah, just got a question. So it's just a conversation I've been having over the last couple of weeks, just regards to some additional functionality that would probably be potentially helpful for ICBs within the eProduct tool. So it's just a suggestion. I know various ICBs are working on like retention dashboards, and it seems like and the consensus kind of seems similar on what they want to view. And I know you have a report building. I just think it would be really handy if there was something within eProduct that encapsulated what the ICBs are looking for in terms of retention dashboards for their systems. It would probably cut down. I mean, essentially, a lot of the information you guys hold anyway within the eProduct or extract anyway. It'd just be, for me, it'll be quite handy. And I'm happy to pick this up with you guys offline if you ever wanted to have a chat about it, and what could be done.
Thank you. Yes, it's a good chat. That also I want to just reiterate it, because this tool is so any changes in here, well, I have to go through a process, and it is discussed by the data service team. But what I want to say is that there's some products that I can't even see them. Therefore, maybe there's some, for example, if you're looking for a retention dashboard, then it's a matter of just getting in touch with the regional or the regions or even the national product, the national team. And they will be able to, if the product is not there on display, maybe it's in a restricted area, as I said, because you remember when I was showing the operational planning tool, so I have access to this, but I have colleagues that they don't have access to this tool. There's some areas that are restricted, and therefore you can't see it. And not because you can't see it, that doesn't mean that doesn't exist. So there's some functionalities that are just specific to some users and goes through layers of approval. And unfortunately, that's how the NHS works, that you have to just go through requests and this, but just get in touch, and then we can see what we can do. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
no, it'll be handy. I mean, if it's a case where there's something already out there and we just need access to it, or there needs to be approval for access, then that's perfect. If not, then I think there's potential opportunity to build something, and not even just for region, for national. If it's a consensus across all ICBs and it's a requirement, it just makes it handy, because I think the risk you have is you've got multiple ICBs that are trying to retain trying to get the same data, displaying it in all different ways, and you got inconsistencies. But it would be good just to get that consistency across the board. But yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
No, that's great feedback. So I was just thinking. So David, you know what you have access to, and obviously you've shown us what you can see and given it as an example. And thank you very much for that. That's really useful. So how do we know what the full menu is? How do we know what we don't know? Sort of thing. How do we? It's like here's the menu, and it'd be useful. I don't know whether it does exist to say this is everything. These are the things you can access, because we can allow that to happen. Maybe because of where you work or whatever, and these are the things you can't have access to. So those are the things that you might need a little bit of work, or you need to accept the fact that the IG whatever means that it's not going to happen.
So my recommendation would be just get in touch with regions first of all, just to see, for example, if you're looking for, I don't know, mental health dashboard, no, in the Midlands, so we have one. So and then so is there's also the national one. So we can get in touch first with the regions, and if not, we can actually check if there's something nationally, or even if there's a lot of or if there's a need wider in the regions to say, well, we would like to see such product or such product, then this can be taken on board, and we can build something, you know, and product that I don't know, for retention tool that actually works for the ICBs and specific metrics that they want to see. And we're happy to create tools that are useful for this across the region, and we could then just share it in this portal and people can access to it. So yes, that's no problem at all. But first thing sometimes is and even if you look for a national tool or something else, you can get in touch with the data service. So when I'm saying this, I might send you, if that's okay, Rachel, I can send you the email address of the data service, and the eProduct link, the URL for the eProduct, as well as to request access. There's a form, is an MSS form flag, which I can share the URL. I will share all these with you, and you can then cascade it with everybody, just to say, this is the process you have to follow to get access to the eProduct portal, and that's it. So any questions, because what is going to happen if you get in touch with the National Data Service team, they can look at the back end and see what other regions have, and they can actually start just pointing into, okay, that's maybe this region there's not that, but maybe in other regions they have this product, and we can just take it from there. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting in touch with who actually maintains the whole thing. Yeah,
so to coordinate requirements which are sort of generic or something. So it sounds like the retention, a dashboard for that, or the information on that, would be something that everybody would be interested in across the country, particularly if it's something that people have to report on regularly. So I did gain access to the portal, as I do have an NHS email, and I did try it from like I was saying at the beginning, I wasn't testing the system, I was just being lazy. I did try it from my personal email address, and that was rejected. But I think you just have to, on the form, you just have to be just a bit, you are a public sector organisation, whereas I was probably just sitting in my bed being lazy, and I got rejected, and nobody likes to be rejected. So I then said, excuse me. No, I obviously I didn't. I was very adult and professional about it. But you can my understanding initially was it was just NHS, but I think it's public sector. But you do have to go through that process of emailing, just getting access to it. That's absolutely fine, and we'll share those details. Although I probably just Googled it and got to the website anyway. So you don't have to wait, but I will share that information. Okay, that's really helpful. And and then sort of when people have access, they can see what they do have access to. We can sort of build on maybe developing it and feeding back and asking questions about things that they feel would be useful to include on that as well. I've got just a couple of questions. I won't share my screen. I'll just read a couple of questions out because a couple of them you've talked about already. So someone is saying, can you download the data? You've already said you can, and you recommended a CSV file as opposed to Excel, where you'll just be sort of manipulating the data again in a different form. I'm talked about accessing the portal, the eProduct. And someone's saying, interestingly, and this would be a question I have as well. So who knows about this tool in each ICS? How is this wonderful tool, this resource being disseminated, or is it just in its, I don't know how old it is or how long it, and I start off by describing how it's been developed. So how can we share information about it? Who should know about it?
So everybody should know about it. No, not everybody.
Absolutely.
It's
That's why
quite,
you're here.
yeah. No, it's quite new. Maybe it's been up and running for a year or so, no more than
It is
that.
quite new.
It's quite new. It's quite new. So we're actually promoting, and what I have to say is that the access is done on one-to-one basis. So it's not that. So you can't really say, I don't know, everybody to have this. No, it's just one-to-one. Why do you need this? And we like not a very complicated process, but it's not that. There's been some things in the past that had to actually revoke access to people because they weren't using for the purpose, and they were actually not using it quite professionally. So that's why they're very wary who has access to this tool and what's the purpose of it, because some of the tools like there's some sensitive information that that it's not open to everybody, so you can't really have access to certain information. So that's why some of the tools are restricted. But if you don't mind, I can actually just give you a bit of because this is recorded, so people will actually be able to see it. But let me just show you something. So if you want to request access to this, so on the frequent asked questions, but in here, if I just expand it a bit. So basically, here says access problems, but the access is anyways in this. If you see this data service at he.net, .nhs.uk, this is who you have to drop an email to say, I would like access to the e-portal. And what they will send you this form. It's very simple, a URL that tells you eProduct access request form. And I said that you have to this is a simple declaration that you will use the data properly. And if you say, when you say yes, it asks you the region, the name, your email address, because the access is linked to your email address. So that's why when you, Rachel, you send it from your personal, was rejected because was not identified as the healthcare sector. But if you actually send it from any at NHS, HE, any healthcare settings or email address.
Local authority. What about .gov?
It should actually be if they're not quite sure, they will get in touch anyway. So don't worry. Then you add, this is just for information, your job title and which organization you actually submitting it from. It's very simple, very straightforward. It takes you 2 minutes to complete this, and then the data service will get in touch with you. And then what you will see is then the URL is this one that is in here. And I think it's very straightforward, to be honest. Just send them an email, they will send you the form, and then they will just tell you that's it, granted. And you go to this URL and you start just navigating. And if you see that some of the products that, for example, you're navigating on this and you say, well, I want to have access to the operational plans, then just get in touch with the data service and say, listen, I know there's this tool. Can we actually kind of have access? And they will just liaise with the person, whoever requests access, what is it needed for, and so on and so forth. But that should be quite straightforward.
Okay, and that's great. So just a couple of other points have been sort of raised on the questions, and one, you may have covered this, but they are asking, are the methodologies which have been used in the data, are they shown in the portal? So is all of the metadata there?
Some of the Yes, on the what I said at the beginning, when you actually go into a tool and you look at the cover page and then look at the guidance, the guidance should tell you what is the methodology and some other metrics. And if you have if there's something very specific that you want to understand about the tool, get in touch with the data service and say, listen, I'm for example, let's say that you want to say what occupation codes are used in the secondary care tool for mental health nurses. Then get in touch with the data service. They will actually put you in touch with the person who maintains this tool and will tell you, okay, while you have this conversation with that person, they will tell you these are the codes. And I'm just, this is an example, but it's just if you want to know something very specific, how you build this, how you calculated this, for example, how you calculated the turnover rate. So that will be on the guidance page. And if not, if that's something that's not clear, just get in touch with the data service and that will put you in touch with the person who actually can advise you on how this is exactly built or how is this calculated.
Yeah, because there are actually there are many sources or many different databases of workforce data, and
yes,
are you saying that there are people that we can access if we're not clear about how something is derived or how to interpret something, or maybe we have a particular question and we need to sort of combine data sets? Would they be the people to advise on that as well, or
absolutely,
put you in touch
yes.
with somebody? Okay.
So, for example, if you want to get information about what is the turnover calculation and what is then the staffing post or the workforce, they would actually put you in touch with the person who actually maintaining or build this tool, and you will be able to see it. For example, when I said that there was changes on or slight changes on methodology, turnover tool is one of the examples. So because what we looked, for example, in HE or on the ePortal, you would see that the methodology, we don't include, we include changes or people who is moving, changing the region, changing the organization, changing the staff group, but we don't go any further than that. So when then you for the calculations, and then what you will see is that NHS England, when you see that some turnover figures or some of the rates in there, they will actually include the change of an occupation code. So that's why you have to be very careful, because it might be that you're comparing NHSE figures and HE figures, and you will see there's a disparity of 2%. What is that? So that then you have to start diving into the methodologies on both products just to understand where the discrepancies are.
Okay, that's very helpful. So just one other point which was raised here, and it is ARRS. See, I don't know what that stands for. Data shown in the primary care data. Do you know what that? Do you know what ARRS is? And is it an acronym that's actually pronounced as a word? And I've just sounded silly.
Is I know it's about primary care. It's about yes. It's just I know what it is. So I don't know what it stands for. But so I googled it the other day. But yes, so the ARRS is in there. Is in the primary care.
Okay. Yes. Okay, no, that's very useful. Okay, if anybody does anybody have any other questions for David in the room? If not, I'll just
there's one hand up.
There is a hand up. Which
I just want to expand on that. ARRS, sure. It stands for Additional Roles Reimbursement Scheme for Primary Care. So it's an additional funding pot for primary care too, and it's a set amount of staff groups that sit underneath that. Just to expand upon, I do know there's challenges in terms of the ARRS roles in primary care, because I don't think all staff groups are represented in the portal. I do know that he is currently trying to put the additional the missing roles that are on there. So I think if you go after NWRS data, it will always show a smaller amount than probably what your claims are coming through in your ICB. But I do know that I think that's going to be corrected at some point soon. So all the roles are represented on the NWRS. So yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant.
for example, in this in primary care, no, this is a good example. So if you have these kind of questions, then just get in touch with the region, and then we can actually put you in touch with the primary care workforce planning specialist in the region, and any of these questions can be actually sorted and answered. So by all means, just get in touch. Don't assume anything. Don't get anything. Don't take anything for granted. So if you have any questions, just please feel free to contact us. That's why we're here for.
That's really helpful. Thank you, David, and thank you for going through that. It does feel like this is a tool that should be shared far and wide, though, and I feel that we can probably help disseminate it, and the people here today can do some of that for you. And you represent the Midlands, so you are you're not the person to contact in the Midlands, but you do work in the Midlands. So this is your bag.
Yes,
you're one of us.
Yeah, I'm one of yours. Yeah, so I work in the Midlands, but yeah, for sure, if you just get in touch first with the region, to actually, if anybody in the Midlands, they can just start pointing you out with if you actually want to discuss anything about these tools. Yes, okay. Just contact the Workforce Planning and Intelligence team in the Midlands, and we'll be in touch. Well, actually, yes, I mean, if you drop me an email, it doesn't mean I'm going to ignore you. Well, maybe in the next weeks, yeah, because I'm going on holidays. But then,
nice, lovely.
when I'm back, yeah. So by all means, if you have any questions, just start sending emails, and then just get the ball rolling. And then as soon as you just have the contact details, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, thanks again, David, for presenting that to us and sort of giving us a run through of what's available. I think it's been sort of it's going to be a really useful. It already is a really useful resource, and I can tell some people haven't seen it before. So building people's awareness of it is where we're at, and also feedback on how to improve it. Okay, so thanks very much. I'm going to just move on now, just to a couple of points. I think we'll probably finish a little bit early today. But I do just want to say what's coming up in next couple of huddles. So not in the correct order here, but we'll be seeing Andy Lavelle and Sarah Brundell, and they're going to be talking about the National Competency Framework. Now that will be rolled out in autumn, so early October. So they are coming to talk to us about that. So I think that's something that we should pay special attention to. In fact, the next huddle is the community service contracts. That's about the supply, equity and impact of those, and that's with Andrew Jones from the strategy unit. And then we have Stephen Wyatt, also from the strategy unit, talking to us about a project around need, demand and supply of general practice consultations. And many more. We have many more as well, and we always want to hear from you as well. So if any of you have any content that you want us to cover, or you want to deliver, or you just want to share with us, you don't have to take up the whole huddle. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you like. Preferably not more than an hour. I'll have to cut you off, but that would be, you'd be very welcome there. I will just share my screen for this last one here because there's quite a lot on it. Let's have a look. So we have a lot of training opportunities coming up in some in a couple in August. We've tried to avoid August, which is why September is so busy. We do it every year. Avoid the summer and then say, oh, we'll just put this back till September when people are back from the holidays, or most people are. So we have quite a lot coming up in September and October, and drawing your attention in particular to this top one. So population health management for analysts. So we've got new dates that starts in September, and there are at the moment plenty of places for that, but they will go. But please do register your interest. So go to the MDSN website, training and events. Just search for PHM, and it'll come up. If you can't find it, let me know, and I'll do that for you. And then PHM for anyone. So that's, again, there are new dates. They both start on the same day, because if you can remember, the analysts training has 11 2-hour sessions, and 5 of those are also the PHM for anyone. Now that is unrestricted in terms of numbers, so this is available and suitable for analysts and non-analysts. So if you would like your colleagues, whoever they are, to learn more about PHM so that you can raise their awareness through your teams and organisations, and that's for them as well. And then we got one or two more technical ones. So Zoe Turner, who I think is on the call today, is doing an introduction to Git and GitHub, and that's towards the end of August. There's a couple that Zoe is doing that isn't on here. I think she's doing an introduction to Quarto as well in September. But most of the other training sessions which we have lined up are on this list. So the introduction to machine learning, that's 8 half days. That's not 8.5 days, that's 8 half days. That's a bit misleading, and that again, that starts in September. So we do have registrations for that, but there are plenty of spaces for that. The systems thinking is unlimited, so that you just book directly onto that. That's with Mohammed, Professor Mohammed. Mentions there's another one of Zoe's, Introduction to R&R Studio. This is for complete beginners. You want to find out about R, what it's all about, then start your journey with Zoe on the 12th of September. We then have a couple of courses which actually aren't on here, but I'll just mention these ones that I have listed here for completeness. So the economics for non-economists, that's a one-day face-to-face workshop in Birmingham at the studio. The food is great, Fraser's brilliant, that has excellent feedback. That's for anyone, so for all of you guys and non-analysts too. And for people who may be in the world of finance but just want a bit of a refresher, or to mix with non-finance, non-economist type people. And we've just opened this communication skills series. So there are three dates, 3 different sessions for that. Half a day each, again, not 5 days each. That's a weird way of presenting it. That was me, by the way, nobody else. And that starts in September. So we've just opened the registration for that. Those are the spaces are there at the moment, but they are restricted and limited because of the nature that training is delivered. It's very, very interactive. There's a lot of support given to the professional organisation that delivers that campus PR. And then, of course, probably mentioned it already, but the NHSR conference, I think it's the 17th, 18th of October. I should know, I am going. So get yourself booked onto that, either in person at Edgbaston in Birmingham or online. And any
just
info?
add on the NHSR conference, because it is a bit confusing. We've got like the traditional 2-day with in person, and that's hybrid, so it'll be recorded. But then the week before, we also have just virtual, because we've got a couple of keynote speakers who are from Europe. So that's not really fair getting them to travel all the way. I know Birmingham is great, but it is it's a bit far maybe. So we've got some really great speakers lined up, and we had more abstracts than we ever had before, and we really didn't do a great job of communicating to people. So it just shows how amazing the work is and that people are hearing about NHSR. It's not just R as well, because we have to make it confusing. We're also doing Python too, so you won't necessarily know, because it will be the topic that you'll be attracted to going, I'm sure, and it'll be all intermingled. So we'll be doing it with our NHS PyCom colleagues as well. If you do get to the event itself, we're going to try and do a side room of unconferencing, and that's quite new for us, but we're going to have a facilitator who has done this before. Okay. And that could be really interesting. And we might be talking about things like branding for the NHSR, trying to be more inclusive because of the NHS and because of the R. So it is a really, really great conference to come along to, even if you don't know any R. I did it back in 2018 and I had no idea what people were talking about. But we've also got online workshops.
I was going to say that about this is for complete novices as well as for people who are sort of advanced in this area. So I've also been, and you learn so much. You don't need to know any R, you don't need to know any Python. And I always thought you were saying Python wrong when you said PyCom, but that's their version.
Oh yeah, it's because they've and that's the branding thing that we kind of stumbled into. So if there's anybody who's interested in a bit of branding, if you're a branding geek, this is difficult, because we were talking about it, and the colleague the person who's going to do our conferencing looked, and he said, oh, it's only known as Python Community Online. It's not known as PyCom. But I think we've contracted it and just thought, it's PyCom because they have a Twitter handle, and we've got the same with NHSR. It's not very obvious to us because we've been in it for so long, but NHS just kind of screams NHS, which means that local authority colleagues who may be here today were like, oh, that's not for me because I'm not NHS, but actually it is. And civil servants and government people are all very, very welcome. So we need to think about branding.
Yeah, I think the NHS NHSR, it's in a name, isn't it? But it's very the fact that you have to describe who it's for.
Yeah.
As soon as you say it. Yeah, and that's a shame, but it's a brilliant brand and it's obviously a brilliant community to be part of. And Zoe, I was going to suggest, we've just got like half a second to go. Maybe if you could come back and do a 5-10 minute on the conference next time, just so you can tell us about these wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So also
yeah,
we'll be keeping, because we're trying our best to kind of keep people informed. So we've done podcasts. If anybody's interested in listening to things, we do blogs online, which I also share with AFRA analysts. If there are any other networks that people know about, please do let us know. Let me know, because reaching people is quite tricky sometimes in the NHS because we've got so many different things, and it's not just England as well. So if you've got any friends or colleagues in other nations, we're trying to reach out a lot more to other people because we can learn from them as much as they can learn from us. To be fair, we're all learning.
Fantastic. We are indeed. And what a journey.
Yes, it's still going.
Thanks very much for Zoe. Thank you for elaborating, and I look forward to I know 5 or 10 minutes next week on the NHSR conference. Brilliant, and thank you, David, for your time today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're on 12 o'clock, so you know what that means. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, guys. Okay, bye.